Let's get to our political panel, Bruce Hawker and Kerry Chikarovsky. Great to see you both, Bruce. Welcome back. I know you've been away for a while, but you've been following the Trump case closely. Everything that has happened in the courts, whether it be in New York or elsewhere, we've seen his polling go up in the wake of that.
Well, he will get a boost, certainly from people who already do support him. And it will make some people think that he's been done a disservice and so forth. The big question, though, will be how will registered voters who are more moderate in their thinking on the Republican side see this? Will it actually translate to them not turning up to vote or even voting for Biden? Or will it have no impact on their current voting intention? In other words, I'll keep voting for him. There are so many imponderables in this that it's very hard to really work your way through them with any degree of certainty or sophistication. The fact that it's not compulsory to vote in the United States, the fact you have to be registered, the fact that there's a level of voter suppression goes on in that country as well, all impact on the outcome on the day. So all I think we can say is this helps his base. It helps him agitate his base, but it may well be worrying moderate Republicans.
That issue of voluntary voting, Kerry, it's a big one for Joe Biden to navigate as well, because right now, according to the polls in the swing states, he's not getting the numbers he needs. So we're talking about mobilising your base. Biden really needs to improve those numbers dramatically.
Well, and certainly the Trump decision has motivated his base. And I agree with Bruce. It'll be a question of whether those moderate Republicans decide to turn up and vote. We've seen other elections where Republicans have just not been able to bring themselves to vote for the candidate. So maybe that's going to happen here. But the problem that Biden's got with his base is that his base is often includes a lot of young people. And of course, they're reacting against him because of his position on Israel and Palestine. Exactly. So, the problem for him will be whether those young people decide, one, to turn out to vote, and if they do vote, they're not going to vote for any way or how for Trump, but they might look for a third-party candidate who might actually be more attuned to the way they're thinking. So he needs to get those young people out to vote. But the other problem that he's got is that a lot of the people who voted for him last time, including a lot of women, for example, there's now some really bizarre polling which is saying that women are actually now turning to Trump. I don't understand it. I do not understand it at all. But that's what, if he can't motivate young people and women to vote, then he might be in trouble, Biden.
Josh Frydenberg, we bring our focus back to home. Some talk off the back of those draft redistributions in Victoria. Kerry Chikarovsky, the former Treasurer, I think a lot of his colleagues would like him back in the Parliament, but the transactional cost of dumping or seeing a young woman, Oxford graduate Amelia Hamer, removed as the candidate, when she's clearly not wanting to budge now, and I think good on her, she won it fair and square, the transactional cost of removing a young woman would be devastating for a Liberal candidate.
I think it would not be a good look for the Liberal Party, and it would reflect not just in Victoria, it would probably impact other parts of the country as well. Look, Josh is absolutely a talent. Absolutely a talent, and I think it was one of the really great tragedies of the last election that Josh lost his seat. So I think that the Liberal Party, if they are interested in accommodating Josh, then Josh needs to look elsewhere, because you can't afford to take out a young woman who went through what was a pretty gruelling pre-selection process, from my understanding, and who is already in that electorate and working hard. It would not only would it not be a good look, it would be terribly unfair. I mean, she's actually putting in the hard yards. She put in the work. And to turn around and say, well, look, sorry, we're going to tap you on the shoulder and let Josh put his hand up again, I don't think that the electorate would wear it. And I think, to be honest, that a lot of the broader Liberal Party wouldn't wear it either. So, Josh, I'm sure we could welcome you back into the Parliament. We just need to find a different way of doing it.
A couple of other seats there that might be in the mix is Macnamara. That was affected by the redistribution. Also, Chisholm. The thing is, Bruce, and as you know, and you've known politicians for a long time, once they get their mind set on one electorate, it's hard to get them to budge. But maybe Kerry's right there. If he wants to reinsert himself and wants to revive his political career, maybe he's got to think outside the square, Bruce.
Yeah, I do. I agree with Kerry on all that. The Liberal Party really does have a woman problem, and it's been playing out in New South Wales in no uncertain terms in recent weeks. And I think it's a national issue, and they can't ignore that right now. And they've got a reasonably popular incumbent in Monique Ryan, the Teal Independent, in Kooyong. So all that plays to an argument that says the Liberal Party's got a tin ear on the issues to do with women, and I think that's something that they just can't allow themselves to fall into any further than they already are. If he's as good and popular as people say that he is, then those other seats in Melbourne that you mentioned would be ones for him to have a crack at where they haven't had their pre-selections yet. So go for it, Josh, and see how you go. I think the other thing that's interesting in this, of course, is that he would probably have been the front runner to be the leader of the opposition had he won Kooyong at the last election. If he does get back into Parliament, then I guess that gives the Liberal Party something of an option and maybe a dilemma if they don't win the next election as to whether they go with him or they stick with Dutton or someone like that, because they, in a way, they do represent two different sort of visions for the country within the Liberal Party.
Yeah, well, certainly, and Kerry touched on this. Kerry, just finally, if you can wrap it up on this, but whether you're Labor, Liberal or whatever party, you want the best calibre of person in terms of their experience and capacity. As a former Treasurer, it'd be good to have him back in the Parliament, but the transactional costs and all those other things need to be weighed up. It's not as easy as saying, that equals that. There's a lot of complications involved.
And the other thing you need, though, Kieran, is you actually need to bring people into the Parliament who are new, who have new ideas, who have got new energy. So I think the idea that you would actually just turf out someone who, as I said earlier, has really worked really hard and is working very hard, from my understanding, in that electorate, just because she hasn't got the experience, just because she's not Josh, I think is completely wrong thinking. I actually, as I said, I think Josh could be accommodated elsewhere in the Victorian electorates, and that's what the Liberal Party should be working on.
Kerry Chikarovsky, great to get your insights and thoughts as always. Bruce Hawker, nice to see you. We'll catch you soon.